All right, let's chat a bit about some news that is going on. We're going to start off with Malakai Black, who responded the other day on Instagram Live to basically discussing his status with AEW, because it has been very muddied, I would say, ever since All Out, and where he gave what appeared to be a goodbye to the live crowd. And then later on that evening, it was Will Washington from the Grapsity podcast who asked Tony Khan during the press conference about what is the status of Malakai Black. What did that mean? Tony Khan could not comment on it. And since that time, Malakai Black did put out a statement not all that long ago stating that he did ask for his release. Now, later in that same statement, he referred to his release in quotation marks. So, yes, this has led to people questioning what his status was with AEW. And, obviously, he has also divulged he is going through a lot of personal issues, and I think we all want to respect those issues that he is going through. But he was very upset about what has been reported about him. He called into question the length of his contract that is out there, stating it's not 5 years. Well, that term, the only reason that length is known is because Tony Khan divulged that when he was on Busted Open Radio back over the summer, stating that Black has nearly 5 years left on his deal. So that strictly comes from Tony Khan's lips of the length of the deal. But he is not done with AEW. He states he's going to be gone, maybe for weeks, maybe for months, but he's going to be back. There is no controversy. Now, it has been noted, and by himself, he had asked for his release. He stated that. So, this has brought about, I think, a lot of tension of, talent with how they are covered. And I think it is worth having a discussion on there is overall, I think, a lack of transparency. And obviously I'm coming it from one angle of it, from the media side, and talent is not required to disclose anything they want. But I do feel like there is some middle ground where there can be, the status of a performer can be commented on by a company, where basic facts should be transparent. I don't think it has to be Fort Knox when it comes to every last detail, and there's nothing. And you have, I will see a lot of people that will always complain about reports where it is sources that are unnamed. Folks, that's not on the media side. There is no one in a reporter side that is clamoring for to speak off the record or to speak on background. That is on the performers. This is an industry where it is so considered a taboo to speak to the media that I just feel overall like we're so behind in forms of other industries. And yes, you are going to have people that are not going to be able to speak on the record. They are topics. There may be very important news to come out that someone does not want to attach their name to. But at the same time, I think some of these companies could do a bit better job when it comes to just answering basic questions. So it's not just this eternal friction back and forth. But that also comes with the territory. There is going to be dissension between talent that are covered and are not going to want aspects of their professional careers covered. But this sort of was a large group of thoughts that I had coming out of this video.
Mm-hmm, yeah, it seems to be a part of a larger sort of discourse right now going on between maybe a lot of contentiousness between the media and professional wrestlers, and people speaking to the media that may be professional wrestlers internally, specifically as it relates seemingly with AEW's roster. I can understand, maybe the frustration if you're a wrestler and if you're sensing that people are talking about something that might not be true. However, in this particular instance, you laid out the facts, John. There's information out there that has been divulged by Tony Khan or by Malakai Black himself that we believe to be factual at the time. So I definitely respect somebody not wanting maybe us to, like, speculating about his mental health, for instance, like all that stuff. I understand, like, that's probably not great to hear, you know, if you're somebody.
No, but again, Wade, like, I think we have to be very careful when we just say, like, the media. Like, what does that entail? I think, like, there are reporters out there you respect. There's reporters maybe you don't respect out there. That's every fan consumer's prerogative. But when is his mental health being discussed by these reporters that you follow? Because I'm sure not hearing that. Is this from fans online and we're just conflating social media with media? I mean, that's, you know, obviously it's not ideal. And like, mental health is going to be off limits. Like, I'm not going into that territory at all, but there are going to be aspects of your, like, contract status and such. Like, you might not want that out there, but that stuff is going to get reported on.
Yeah, it's fair game, and especially in an industry like professional wrestling, where, you know, like, historically, you have to kind of sift through so much of what's out there to find the truth. Speculating is part of, unfortunately, the game when you don't have, you know, clear upfront messaging from the sources themselves. But, you know, I could see the frustration, but, like, a lot of it, unfortunately, is just kind of part of, like, the nature of, like, this sort of business. All that said, like, you know, part of his messages or in this stream was addressing people who were sending him death threats.
Yeah, and that's completely bullshit.
Unacceptable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that aspect is, like, I understand having such a negative reaction and you sort of just lump in everyone together when it's that extent that you are receiving death threats, which is just, I mean, I don't even know how you could possibly address that in any meaningful way when that's the response that you are getting from some people. And that's going to, you know, some people can just scoff at, like, such an extreme reaction to that. That's, when you're going through something and that's something you wake up and get in your inbox or tweeted at you, that's alarming. And
it calls more to, I think, you know, the unhealthy, oftentimes, tribalism that exists right now with, you know, rival companies. And that's a rivalry that the promoters themselves are willing to buy into and have really fanned the flames up in order to get extra attention. So I you know, there's no excuse for that sort of online behavior. And anybody who is engaging in something like that, we should all, as a community, shut that down immediately. At the same time, I'm not really surprised to see, like, people that, you know, are so quick to defend every single Thursday these sort of ratings wars, you know, getting to that point where they might be sending death threats to a wrestler for wanting to quit, for instance. It's ridiculous, but man, it's like, it's, you know, I think in every fandom you have, like, you know, this unfortunate, really kind of dark side to it. But, you know, it's part of a larger discussion that I see out there right now. And like you said, John, I think it's sort of in human nature for, like, if you're Malakai Black, to lump the media as one group, just as, like, it might be, you know, for us to, you know, sometimes lump listeners into one group if like we get negative, you know, feedback sometimes from somebody when that might represent a small part. I want this guy to just, you know, be healthy and happy in whatever he's doing. But at the same time, you know, reporters kind of have a job to do. And part of, like, discussing a man's contract is nothing at all to, like, something I think he should get personally offended by.
And again, just going back to his own words, like, he is stating, I was just taking time off and it's no conspiracy. I mean, in your own statement, you said you asked for your release. Those were your words. So, you know, you have to essentially, like, you are almost contradicting yourself at that point. So, I believe in it. You know, this comes off the heels of Dave Meltzer reporting that apparently Tony Khan has just made an edict. There are not going to be any releases when it comes to, obviously, Malakai Black. For Buddy Matthews, it is not going to be a case where anyone's going to be let out of their contracts early. So I'm sure that is a factor in all of this as well. And I think number one is the priority you stated is Malakai Black getting into a good space, both mentally and physically. I mean, he has talked about an ailing back injury that he has been dealing with as well. So I think that is his number one priority, is his health. And then hopefully, you know, they revisit and they can have an amicable relationship from there.